Hey, what's going on, guys? Listen, prayers up to everybody in California right now. There is so much going on. If you guys haven't heard, yes, fire is raging through California, specifically Southern California, starting in the Pacific Palisades. Homes are being evacuated. People are fleeing their cars and leaving them in the middle of the street to save their lives. Bulldozers are being called to move people's cars out of the road. It looks like a post apocalyptic wasteland. Everybody who is anybody is trying to flee. However, in the midst of all this, there is still exploitation going around. You guys, what am I talking about? Incarcerated labor is fueling California's firefight through a slave hole loophole, a slavery loophole. You guys, this is ridiculous. The People's City Council of Los Angeles said, while you're watching these fires glow, while you're watching these fires grow across LA, understand that incarcerated people make up 30% of California's on the ground wildfire crews. This is directly from, of course, Diet Prada did all the research for that. Make sure you follow them on Instagram. California is burning. Multiple fires broke out across the state on Tuesday, affecting areas such as the Palisades, Malibu, Altadena, Pasadena, Slimar. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency, evacuating at least 80,000 people from LA, with 2 deaths reported so far. The fire is expected to worsen, with 100-mile-per-hour winds fanning the flames. But who is on the front lines of these deadly fires? California's incarcerated. Oh, and for the 20th of what professional firefighters make in the day, despite inmate fire crews accounting for 30% of the state's wildfire forces, this is according to the LA Times. The average California forestry and fire protection Cal Fire firefighter earns 50,000, only 50 to 64,000 to risk their lives, plus benefits including health insurance, pension plan, and death benefits. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, that is the CDCR, says inmates in the program, which began during World War II, are paid between $5.80 and $10.24 per day, with an extra dollar per hour during disasters. 2 months ago, California's voted against Proposition 6, which would have banned involuntary servitude for incarcerated persons in the state, known as the slavery loophole. Reports prisoners who decline or cannot complete these jobs can face severe consequences, such as delays in parole eligibility or loss of family visitation privileges. Look at this carnage on your screen. You either go into that hellhole or you may lose family visitation privileges or parole eligibility. Meanwhile, the CDCR launched the Youth Offender Camp pilot program in August 2023, recruiting incarcerated 18 to 25-year-olds to help replenish its dwindling wildfire labor pool. As climate change creates more ripe conditions for wildfires, California remains in danger. The state is home to 14 of the 15 largest fires on record since 2007, per the LA Times. Nevertheless, LA Mayor Karen Bass proposed a 2024 2025 budget cutting LA Fire Department funding by $23 million. The adopted budget already reduced it by nearly $18 million. Meanwhile, LAPD's budget increased by 8%, totaling $2.14 billion. Reliance on prison labor from the Golden State highlights a serious exploitation issue. Without systematic change, those incarcerated will continue to be preyed upon for vital labor. As wildfires intensify with climate change, remember who is fighting your fires. You guys, you know what the sick thing is as I look at this carnage, which disgusts me? It looks at that old adage first they came for my neighbors, and then they came for me. However, there's more. LAPD's budget is 2.14 billion. Why is that important? Because Hasanabi on Twitter said posted something saying they said good thing we cut the fire department funding by 23 million while increasing the police department budget by 138 million. They said the cops will shoot at the fire. Jonathan on Twitter said Malibu's iconic sand castles are crumbling one at a time. This has been a numbing and terrifying 14 hours in California history. They then said now the California fires are getting so bad that people are abandoning their cars and fleeing on foot. Bulldozers have been called in to remove the abandoned cars. I'm getting Maui vibes, and I hate to say that. Aditi said the thousands of incarcerated firefighters enslaved and forced to labor by California without access to health care or adequate nutrition, who are putting out the flames set by piggy politicians addicted to extraction at all costs are owed everything. Everything. Another person said, the more I find out about the way this country and the way we profit over others' pain, the more I'm disgusted and radicalized. Saya posted an interesting TikTok saying this is by far the craziest video from the fire in Los Angeles. This guy is filming huge walls of fire surrounding the house they're in. There's another person and a dog. I have no idea why they didn't evacuate or what happened to them. Let's hope they're okay. Oasis said, California fire is so hard, is such hard proof. We need a massive investment in emergency services for these disasters, but this country is more likely to create Uber for evac choppers that only rich people can afford. Soul said, California is paying the cost of bipartisan climate destruction. We have never had serious, effective presidential or congressional leadership on this crisis, and there's no escaping or rationalizing this reality. But can we also say that, right? Can we also say that even on the state level, so much is put in California, especially Southern California, into the wealthy areas, the wealthy this, the wealthy that. But when people are buying these 100 million, 200 million, 600 million, okay, fine, there's not a 600 million mansion, but let me just get my point. Buying these crazy things, this wealth tax that they have to put on mansions, why do they not make people pay a tax for fire services, private fire services, that when these things happen, they have to jump into action before they jump into the rest of the neighborhoods. There's so many things that should be done. There's so many tax dollars can be spent. Tell me how the LAPD's budget is almost triple what the LA Fire Department budget is when these wildfires happen every year. The city is under siege, unfortunately, by its own politicians' greed, lack of remorse, and not caring about the average people. Proposition 6. A California ballot measure wants to ban slavery, but why is it losing? Proposition 6 would close a loophole allowing involuntary servitude in prison. But backers face an uphill battle in explaining it to voters. Why? Because when you go to jail, the state thinks they owe you, and they are paying 30% of the people fighting this fire right now $5.80 a day to risk their lives. Why Amazon is getting richer while Facebook and Instagram are gorging people. Why Walmart is literally trying to get legislation passed that they can do a face scan and charge you a different price than the next person based on the maximum amount they can get on over on you. While consumer protections are being lifted. Why so much is happening in this country. We see it falling apart. We saw it falling apart metaphorically. And now we see it going up in flames literally. Again, it's insane that the ballot measure to end slavery in California failed to pass. Proposition 6, and if you're asking yourself what this has to do anything, it has to do because instead of paying people to fight fires, a fair livable wage, instead of investing in our infrastructure, instead of doing everything, these private pay for play prisons somehow think that they'll make the prisoners do it while they continue to leech every drop from us. Proposition 6 would eliminate this so called slavery loophole in California's Constitution. Like the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, it bans slavery and involuntary servitude except as punishment for a crime, a provision that has allowed prisoners to force their inmates to work. California inmates can currently be required to take on jobs ranging from kitchen and janitorial work to making license plates and fighting wildfires. Around 40,000 of the 90,000 people in California prisons work, and they typically earn less than $1 per hour. Turning down those jobs can come with serious consequences, including delayed parole eligibility and denial of certain privileges while in prison. What's more, and it needs to actually be said, okay? Even if you believe, oh, well, these people, they're criminals, they don't deserve to be paid. That still doesn't explain everything. Why are you asking people to risk their life? Not even asking, demanding these people risk their lives. And if they don't, they only get paid not even $6 a day. And if they don't risk their lives, they could not go up for parole and they could have serious consequences. Even if you say, oh my God, they don't deserve to be paid, look at this carnage. Why are not the livable wages, the minimum wages that they would have paid them? Why aren't the companies paying it into a victims relief fund? How about that? Okay, fine, you don't get to deserve to get paid. You get $1 of it. And guess what? The money you make goes into the victims relief fund for you to pay the victims of the people you actually hurt. But that's never an option, is it? Again, I fear the way this country's going. It's disgusting that so many people are forced to risk their lives. It is disgusting that even the people that aren't in labor are forced to risk their lives for a mere 64,000 a year. It is disgusting to me that in the last 5 years, 10 years, there has been the biggest single transfer of wealth from the middle class, working class, and poor to the top 0.001%. And it's disgusting to me that in the time in 2025, this is what we're looking at. You guys, social media had a lot to say about this.